here we go again. Everyone wants to know. So here it is.
Melania, rated PG, exclusively in theaters January 30th.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Kulturecast. I'm your host, Chris Stachiw, and I'm joined by my good friend, Dustin Rutledge, who we used to do this once in a blue moon together, and it's been several blue moons since, and apparently we hate ourselves. I was waiting for your pithy one-liner from the movie.
Yeah, here we go again.
Not to be confused with the tagline from Gremlins 2, Here we grow again. Oh, God. On this episode of the Kulturecast, we've taken it upon ourselves to watch a film, in quotations, directed by, from the director who brought you such classics as Hercules and Tower Heist and The Family Man. Comes a film so obviously propaganda, even we can't pretend it's anything else. Melania. A film. In quotation. Film. Film, as Slavoj Žižek would call them. It is a film. So, on this episode of the Kulturecast, like I mentioned, we are going to be taking a look at 2026's Melania, a film directed and produced by Brett Ratner and Jeff Bezos, purchased by Amazon for $40 million, because that's a believable number that you paid for this movie, I guess. The film made effectively nothing. It is a box office bomb. Shocking, because it's awful. They're burying the lead right then and there. Jesus Christ. Dustin, I am so unbelievably curious.
Spoiler.
Ooh, I am so very curious. What did you think of Melania, the film chronicling the 20 days before Donald Trump became president again?
Well, we had the, good fortune of hearing a lot about it prior to us watching it. And we watched it anyways.
We knew what we were doing. We do.
Yeah, we knew. We knew what we were signing up for. But, I mean, it kind of was worse than I thought it was going to be.
The bar being set rather low was apparently not low enough.
No, there just was nothing to it. And I know I made the comment of while we were watching it that this thing is such a slog. Like it took effort to keep watching it. And my wife was watching it with us, and she didn't last the whole time. She was like, "I'm done."
I would like to stay as non-political on this episode as possible. I'm kidding. I think that this movie is...
We'll do our best.
Yeah, well, we're not going to do our best because I'm not even going to attempt to. You can. I won't. I have never seen something so obviously masquerading as propaganda as a film before. And look, I have not gone and rewatched some of the Nazi films from World War II and the propaganda that Joseph Goebbels and friends were creating until I watched this movie. And then I went back and educated myself on some of those kinds of films. And this is very much in the vein of something like that. I mean, we have a subject of a documentary who seems wholly disinterested in having anything to do with the camera crew following her around. Most of the movie is a over-the-shoulder shot from behind, in the vein of In a Violent Nature, the horror movie that came out 2 years ago, which was problematic for a lot of people because some people whose opinions I trust don't like the movie because it's just a movie about walking for an hour and a half, and not the good kind of walking either, walking around. And so, I mean, a lot of people had an issue with In a Violent Nature just being a guy walking around for an hour and a half. And this movie is, my Letterboxd review is In a Right-Wing Nature, because that's what this movie is. Most of the movie is Melania walking around, over shoulder shots, and it would be an interesting documentary style. I think you would agree. You could do this kind of documentary on another subject who actually has some value that they're adding to the world. I don't perceive that Melania Trump has added any value to the world at any point in her life at all, because the documentary about her life doesn't convey to me anything other than she's woefully out of touch with reality. She doesn't seem to have any empathy for other people's suffering, because when they're talking about Jimmy Carter passing away, we have to hear about her mother the whole time, who, yeah, I'm sure your mother was great. She was your mom, but she's to quote Matthew Lillard from Scream, she's no Jimmy Carter. And it's, then there's just the optics of it are strange because, again, we have a film that's effectively a $40 million bribe by Jeff Bezos and Amazon over to the Trump administration. This is not anything I'm saying. This is just factual information. Amazon paid the Trump family $40 million to have the exclusive rights to release this movie in theaters and on VOD. And see what it got you. $34 million in losses, a $34 million tax write-off. It smacks of light propaganda on the face of it. And when you sit down to watch the movie, it smacks of, to call it propaganda would be to say that the people behind making it weren't complete fucking morons. But they are. Everyone involved in the making of this movie is a complete dipshit of the highest order, from Brett Ratner, who I hope the next movie and the last movie you make is Rush Hour 4, because I don't know what other films you could direct anymore that anyone wouldn't laugh you out of the building unless they starred Jon Voight, Robert Davi, and Gina Carano, I assume, or Ben Shapiro's next joint. Brett Ratner has made himself a director now who cannot be taken seriously, should not be taken seriously by anyone in the movie industry, because the person who should have taken this job on didn't need to be a real director. They didn't need to be anything. It was a movie where by the end of it, and I've seen bad movies, as have you, I've seen movies that are like, bottom of the barrel pieces of like complete time wasters. Like, I don't want to call a movie a piece of shit because I don't say that very often about movies. I'm not this flippant and dismissive about film. I actually find it rather hard to be this flippant and dismissive about film because I know, as well as you do, having been involved in this industry now, at least for me personally, for over a decade, and for you now for over 5-6 years now, like having interacted with or talked to or listened to people in the industry, I know how much work it takes to make a film. So I find it hard to be like, this movie is a complete waste of time, because a lot of people made this movie. However, a lot of people also took their names off this movie. People involved in the making of this movie took their name off of this movie. And so I feel like I'm okay to say, in terms of this movie, it is a piece of shit. And it is a complete and utter fluff piece in a way that is a fluff piece made by morons. Everything that the Trump administration does is rather ineffectual and idiotic. It's the dumbest, stupidest version of the thing that they can do. It's one of those things where it's like, of course, Donald Trump said he doesn't like mail-in voting, and then he sends in a mail-in ballot. Like, it's not even, they're not even trying anymore. And to push that on, to use the transitive property, and I know some people just heard trans and turned this off. To use the transitive property, it was probably anybody at this point have to have left after I called this movie a piece of shit. To use the transitive property with this movie, I would say that anyone involved in the making of this movie knew better, but not only did they not do better in knowing better, they willfully pushed forward and ahead with making what I can only consider to be the biggest waste of $40 million I've seen since they took Batgirl and locked it in the HBO vault, which we'll never see, but that cost about the same, if not a little bit more. So this, for me, is just one of the most bizarre films I've ever seen. It's not even a movie. It's not even, to call it propaganda is to miss the point. It's just a waste of time. It's just a waste of time.
So I would call it failed propaganda, because even propaganda is supposed to incite some kind of movement or change, and this doesn't do anything. And on top of that, the 40 million, I mean, we all know what it is. It's just here, Trumps, I'm buying some favor with you. That's all it is.
Currying favor is not anything new. And
no. And I would also argue that it's also Melania was probably complaining about, I don't know, not having really been known for much in the first term. I mean, she talks about her be best thing, but she kind of got railroaded with, who gives a F about Christmas. And
she got railroaded, huh? My wife, she's a great woman. She can barely speak a lick of English. But, we hate immigrants. We hate them. We hate immigrants, but not my immigrant wife. We don't like.
She was railroaded.
Oh, yeah. She was railroaded.
And some of her fashion choices, like the I don't really care to you, as she's going to go visit an immigrant camp.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, she she got nailed for a lot of stuff, and I think this was a way for, I don't know, her husband or the Trump team, to like kind of put her back up on a pedestal, like, oh, look at her, the first lady, the best one we've ever had. So I think it was all those things. Poorly done, failed propaganda, currying favor, and look, honey, you're important.
And look, we know that they're trying to control the narrative. Like, we know what this looks like. I mean, I'm not an idiot. I'm not stupid. To speak about Slavoj Žižek and ideological reasons for doing things, we live in a post-ideological society now. Like, and I genuinely believe that. Like, they're not even trying anymore to pretend like the things that they're doing have any reason other than self-interest, engagement or self-interest, inflating one's self-interest or self-worth or doing anything for self-gain. Like, they have never at any point in the last, 8 to 10 years now, in terms of the Trumps, Republican Party and the conservative movement, aside, they have not taken it upon themselves to do anything other than increase their bottom line. But at one point in our country's political history, people used to pretend like they were doing it for a reason. Like, well, we're gonna go bomb Iran because we're gonna give them democracy. We're gonna give them freedom. And now it's like, now we're just taking their fucking oil. Like, we're going to Venezuela to take the president, and we're just gonna take their oil. Like, we don't even, in terms of like we as a country, but the people in charge of this country at the moment, we're not even attempting anymore to try and present what we're doing as an ideological choice. We're just doing it because we can increase our own bottom line. And that's what this movie, in terms of the making of it, feels like. We know that this movie was essentially, like you said, a $40 million bribe. Jimmy Kimmel talked about it on his show. The Trump family has spent their entire lives increasing their bottom line. That's their job. That's literally what they're known for. If you don't like what I'm saying, go look at how they conduct themselves and tell me that they're doing anything otherwise. I'm not speaking to immigration or trans identity or the way that they treat the queer community or African Americans or anything else. I'm just talking about the fact that they conduct themselves like people who all they care about is money. And that is ever present in a movie where your lead is a detached millionaire who doesn't even understand the concept of empathy when it comes to people who have lost their homes in wildfire. There's a moment in this movie where she's sitting and watching the footage of the California wildfires from the beginning of 2025, I guess. And it's like she's an alien who's beamed in from planet fucking Neptune, and she's seeing two people playing basketball. It's not like she's watching a thing that should be increasing her emotional engagement. She's just like, I am sitting here watching a show about people who have lost their livelihoods and homes. Aww. Like,
yeah, there's no reaction, no emoting of any kind.
There's no emotional engagement as the subject of a documentary. The film is called Melania. We know what it's going to be about. We know, you quoted it at the beginning of this episode, the here we go again. Like, we know what this is going to be about. This is going to be one giant circle jerk for Melania and the Trump family. And, you can sit and say, well, it's not Donald Trump, it's Melania. You're right. It is. And they make it very clear throughout the movie that she hates her husband. So that's fine. If you're trying to paint the picture, and this is ostensibly my belief as to why this movie exists, and this is just my own personal headcanon, you'll pick it apart however, tell me I'm wrong, not you, Dustin, but the internet. I think this movie was more to make the Trumps look like a, quote, real family, unquote, trying to humanize a group of troglodytic freakazoids who all they do is crawl out of a swamp every day, shake the mud and dirt off, and go about their lives mucking it up for the rest of us who are just trying to exist in this world. And by the end of the movie, it does not change my opinion. If anything, it makes me just like, yeah, these people are really fucked up. Like, fucked up in a way that normal people in this country who have voted for them, who support them, could not fathom how fucked up they are. Because I feel like all families are fucked up. We all have our dysfunction in our family. But these people are fucked up in a way that is hard for anyone who's not part of the upper crust cognoscenti to understand, if they even understand.
Well, and we know how these things are made. Editing is a thing. And there's plenty of times where Donald and Melania are together, family is together, and I agree with you, they were trying to paint this family portrait. And there's a couple times where they edit in these little audio clips of Melania and Trump talking about something with Barron. But they're so few and far between, and they're around each other a lot, which leads me to believe there wasn't much there to use. So they used what they could. Everything else is probably just pretty stale, and it wouldn't serve the purpose of the what they were trying to do.
Well, I mean, we didn't even hear what Barron Trump sounds like.
No.
Though, to be fair, I know what he sounds like because I've heard that clip on the internet. I want my shoelace. I want my shoelace. Now he's like 6'10", and he looks like some sort of weird Donald Trump homunculus. Like I can't look at him because it looks like someone just went Donald Trump and just stretched him about a foot.
Yeah.
It is, to your point, in anything, and if you listen to this podcast frequently, then like Dustin said, the way editing goes, and the director is seeing exactly what they want you to see, and nothing else and nothing more. That's at least a good editor and a good director working together would be on the same page in that regard. And with something like this, I feel like you would have to be on the same.
And that's actually a good segue into Oops All B-roll.
Oops All B-roll. That was right. That was the
because
other joke.
There was so little to use. I mean, this movie had so much just to fill time. I don't know if that was the plan. I can't imagine, because you'd think if there was good stuff, they'd show it, and there just wasn't.
So, and that was the joke that you and I made when we were watching this, is, Oops All B-roll, like the delicious mouth-cutting Oops All Berries Captain Crunch cereal. So I was convinced, and still am, that there is no B-roll, because the B-roll is this entire movie, because if there was something interesting that happened, I would have thought they would have shown it, and they didn't. Exactly. I mean, the most interesting part of the movie, maybe the inauguration campaign day. Like, what did the film show us that we did not know about before?
Well, I'll say this. This doesn't fully answer your question, but I'll try. Melania talks about her Be Best program, and well, I agree. It's a great initiative. Okay, there's nothing wrong with the initiative. It just felt like she said she's going to continue her Be Best program. I don't recall that she ever got started the first time. She announced that it was a thing, but that's the last I ever heard of it until this documentary. And she spent most of the time talking about her Be Best program with other like women from from other countries that are like Macron's and what was it, the Queen of Jordan?
The Jordanian, the Queen of Jordan's wife, yeah,
and how they have been doing these things, and the Queen of Jordan at one point says, "Oh yeah, I did that 20 years ago." Yeah. Because all these things that Melania is talking about, this initiative, I mean, they teach that in my kids' grade school about cyberbullying, and like, it's nothing new. It's not groundbreaking.
Well, but hey, now let's talk about that for a second. They don't like the irony of using Billie Jean, Michael Jackson's music, is lost on them. A group of alleged pedophiles making a movie about other alleged pedophiles using alleged pedophiles' music is not allegedly hilarious. It's very hilarious. The optics of it are fucking hilarious. And then, I mean, the music that they use in the movie is at times ironically disturbing, like the use of Billie Jean. We get Gimme Shelter to open a song that they clearly missed the meaning of. And then at the end of the film, they use It's a Man's World, which I understand the point of that song. But again, everything that the movie does, it feels like they're just like stepping on a rake like Sideshow Bob in a circle of rakes over and over and over again. But they're too stupid to realize how dumb they look. They lack the self-awareness here to understand that they look like complete fucking bozos of the highest order.
Well, and the next lyric, I think, after It's a Man's World is not a woman's. and this is a film about the First Lady.
Thankfully, Just think. Thankfully, Donald Trump is president.
Right.
Thank God Donald Trump gave his wife an hour and a half of movie time to make this movie.
But to kind of answer your question, is there anything we learned or anything new that we got from this? To me, it was the fact that, we got to meet these other women in leadership places that are doing more than our first lady. I was like, oh, the Queen of Jordan. Yeah, she's been on it for a while. Good for her.
The thing that I think maybe was my big takeaway, other than the fact that Melania had creative control over the movie, which means whatever we saw, she wanted us to see. And like you said, the idea of like the other women in the world have done this more than she has, is how much of Melania's story is an immigrant story and how much the right hates fucking immigrants. And how many people in this movie, especially early on, are immigrants, like clearly not from this country, clearly are not Americans, like Melania is not an American. She wasn't born here. I was. So there you go. I'll be an asshole since that's their whole raison d'etre. I'll do it too. I don't like Melania, not because she's an immigrant, because she's an asshole and she hates other immigrants and doesn't understand her place in the world because she married someone who's super rich and got a green card from him. And let's just pretend like that's not the case. That's my point. Like the whole movie is spent with an immigrant, surrounded by other immigrants, helping her do her duties as first lady. And yet we hear every day on the news how they hate immigrants, how they want to throw Hispanic people into prison because of ICE, how they want to separate them from their children. Again, this isn't me making any sort of reaching assessment. This is what they're doing every day. We can see
Muslim names.
Yeah, I live in a state where there is one of these, effectively, I wouldn't say modern day concentration camps, but modern day, Japanese internment camps from World War II. I mean, if you want to treat people like an occupying force for no reason, be my guest, but it's just the optics of it are not great. And this movie because this movie is a film created by Brett Ratner, pitched by Bezos, effectively, and purchased by Amazon and creative controlled by Melania, they don't feel the need or compunction to do anything serious. I would say that this movie could be titled Melania, these people aren't serious people. Nobody who made this movie, nobody in the administration is a serious person. None of these people are serious people about anything. They don't take any of this seriously. When given $40 million for the budget. And by the way, Melania made an estimated $28 million of the $40 million, which is just fucking horse shit of the highest order.
Well, we saw how hard she worked, Chris.
Oh.
The complexities of her life.
I am so sorry. I like black on white dress, not white on black dress. I made the decision for the day. Let me go home and sleep. Ma'am, it's 12 in the afternoon. I know. Like, it's pedantic. Like, go fucking put a camera on literally anyone else. Like, go put a camera on someone who might actually be interested in having a camera put on them, as opposed to having the camera put on someone who is in front of the camera all the time with their back to the camera, because even now they couldn't be bothered with shit.
Well, and I found it interesting, just more, I guess, contradiction to what they're saying to what they're doing. She talks about how she's managing the complexities of life as a private citizen and being a first lady, being a wife, being a mother, being a businesswoman. And then
You put quotations around all these things, right?
Yeah. And then they proceed to show her staff effectively working in the dark overnight, it looks like, and furiously taking phone calls for people. And it's all editing, but like they're making it look like her team is doing crazy amounts of work 24/7. And there's also a scene about her hiring someone else for her team. So what exactly is she doing? Because it sure looks like she's got a team of people doing it for her. And she's just saying, yep, nope. And back to what we were talking about, this through line through the whole thing, the whole Melania movie is immigrants. And that's actually one thing I took from this. There's multiple times in the film. Film, as
Slavoj Žižek says it, film.
Where I actually thought, oh, that's awesome. And those were those moments where they would highlight this person that immigrated to this country and they worked their tail off and got to where. And there's so many of those stories in this, and those were the only times I was like, cool, good for them. And even, Melania talking about her mom, immigrant. Melania is an immigrant. Her dad's there, immigrant. I mean, and I tallied it. I did a little experiment, I guess you could call it, with how much of the movie was her walking, trying on dresses, doing these things. I'll share those numbers in a moment, but aside from those numbers, I'd probably say there's, I don't know, 25 minutes of immigration stories.
Which is almost a quarter of the movie.
Yeah. So are you ready for this?
Oh, I was going to say, so Dustin took it upon himself to watch the movie a second time, which is just, frankly, sadomasochism is not even a strong enough term. That's me being diplomatic. I know what you're going to ask me. So you went back and rewatched it and timed any time that the camera was behind her, essentially.
Yeah.
Okay. So the movie's in 104 minutes.
Did you say 104?
Yeah.
No way.
Oh no, it's worse. It's worse than it seemed.
All right, keep going.
So I want to know. I want to take over under here. So.
Well, let me clarify. It wasn't. So what I did, let me give you my criteria. I had 3 stopwatches going. One was anytime she was walking from one place to another, whether the camera was behind her or not, but because there was a lot of just her walking, and then just riding in different modes of transportation. So what I didn't include in that is, like, I don't know, like her and Donald Trump walking out to take a seat at the inauguration. I didn't count that. I just her walking from a place to another place or riding in a mode of transportation.
Right.
And then the other stopwatch was trying on dresses and discussing dress alterations. And then the third one was talking about the donor's ball with her interior designer buddy. I did those 3. But I wish I had a 4th to talk about the time immigration stories. Go ahead.
I want to say that the amount of time she spent with the camera behind her has got to be somewhere in the half an hour.
Higher.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
All right. What are the numbers then? Because this is fucked up if that's the case.
So out of the 3 categories they timed, the total of all 3 of them is 64 minutes and 5 seconds of walking, riding in a mode of transportation, dresses, and talking to her interior designer about a ball. 64 minutes and 5 seconds. And I would argue that there's another 25 minutes of immigration stories. So to break that down even further, the talking to the interior designer about the donor's ball, a meager 9 minutes and 48 seconds.
Oh.
It's actually less than I thought. It felt like so much more.
Well, this movie's an hour and a half, but it feels like 2 fucking hours. I mean, I think we were 20 minutes into it when I clicked down on the timer, and I was like, because by the way, I did not watch this movie anywhere than through the means that I would watch it, because there's no universe paying piece of shit. I thought we were like a half an hour to 40 minutes in. We were like 10 minutes in. I was like, oh my God, like this is, it's one of those things where I've seen bad narrative films and they kind of twist in the wind and they flail. Sometimes they do something interesting, but for the most part, we're not talking about the kinds of movies that are interesting failures. I'm talking about the movies that are like failures. Mm-hmm. Some of the worst movies I've seen recently in terms of narrative are Casino Royale, Funny Money, which was a Chevy Chase movie, and I think that's probably it. Like, those are, 2 pretty bad examples of very bad movies that don't need to be watched by people, because I think for the most part there's no value to them. And I would put this on that list. Like, it's I wanted to ask you something, because in doing the research for the movie, one of the things that it seemed like they took kind of, maybe not offense at, but it had a weird bone to pick, was the idea that this is not a documentary.
It's just a 20 days in the life of, I guess.
Well, the idea of the film, and Melania said it herself, she said, it was not a documentary, but it was instead a, quote, created experience and, quote, purposeful storytelling, unquote. We have a term for this. It's called a movie.
Yeah. Let's not redefine the movie.
No, because if you're trying to redefine the movie, what the fuck were you doing with this? Like, it in so many ways, it could have been so much more. Like, the film is produced by Brett Ratner, Melania Trump, Mark Beckman, and Fernando Sulichin. Fernando Sulichin has put his name on a lot of interesting documentaries about actual topics and people that are worth going out of your way to do a film on. And I think the thing that's maybe the most disappointing, and I think you would agree, even though this is not something either one of us would have had any interest in watching, I think you could have actually done an interesting documentary about Melania. She does have a good story. She came from rather humble beginnings as the daughter of like a textile worker and a teacher, like a laborer, essentially 2 laborers in Slovenia. Came to this country, modeled, met Donald, and then they had a kid together and she got her green card. Like, you could focus on a lot of that story. You could turn this into...
Then she went on to employ other immigrants. I mean, there could be a very redeeming film here. Right.
And I was going to say, there's moments in this film where I'm like, you could have really leaned into the immigrant of it and done like a female Arnold Schwarzenegger story. Like, she has a lot of those same kind of like markers in her life that Schwarzenegger did, the drive to come to this country, the drive to do it in a way that's atypical of so many people, as opposed to going and getting a technical degree or a degree from university. They went and took advantage of something that they already have, like their, in her respect, her quote, good looks, unquote, and Arnold Schwarzenegger, no quotations here, his physical prowess, because that's what it is. Attractiveness is subjective. I don't find Melania Trump remotely attractive inside or out. And they don't even want to do that. And what I don't understand is, if you're going to make a movie about a first lady who is clearly unlike any other first lady in a lot of ways, like she clearly is, like, I'm not saying positive or negative. I'm just addressing the reality of the situation. I've never seen another first lady naked, which you can go and do very easily on the internet with Melania Trump. You can see pictures of her naked, which is not a thing. There's not pictures of Michelle Obama on the internet naked. There's not pictures of Laura Bush on the internet naked. Which feels like a shame. I don't know, something about Laura. I like Laura Bush, me personally. I don't understand why they didn't lean into that.
Yeah.
That wouldn't even be that hard. Like that feels like in my mind the obvious direction to have taken this. And because they didn't take that, and because they did the laziest thing possible, we get an hour and a half of wheel spinning and propaganda attempts at propaganda. Because again, if it's propaganda, what is the point of propaganda but to control the narrative, shape the narrative, mold it into something that we want or need to engage with in a substantive way, the way we want people to engage with it? What is even the point of this as propaganda? It doesn't succeed at showing us a normal family. It doesn't succeed at showing us a normal person. I mean, there could be in B-roll of this movie her asking her housekeeper, how much does a banana cost? $10? I mean, the out-of-touchness that these people have is presented in the over-the-shoulder view of Melania. She is so disinterested in her own documentary, she can't even be bothered to face the camera and talk to it. And then we have really unengaged narration as well, which, I mean...
Some of it's just reading history cliff notes.
Why they thought Melania was the one we needed to listen to throughout the entire movie is a choice. Her voice is grating. Her point of view is completely useless. She has no point of view of her own on anything. I feel like this was written by someone who was given a outline of the things this movie needs to say and the outline of the things this movie needs to not say, and they followed it to the T. I mean, there's nothing about this movie that's interesting, engaging, or thought-provoking. All it is an hour and a half of people taking mayonnaise, rubbing it on white bread, and throwing it at drywall. Like, that's all it is. Like, it's just white on white on white. There's nothing going on here. It's almost hilarious how inoffensive it. And what's funny is, you mentioned this idea, like in the documentary, they're like, I want to go and help with cyberbullying. Maybe, and this is just to quote the immortal Taylor Swift, maybe keep your side of the street clean first before you start telling the rest of us to not engage in cyberbullying. Because the last time I checked, the biggest cyberbully happens to just be our motherfucking president, who is the world's biggest cyberbully. Like, he is the quintessential...
Almost on the day.
Yeah. He's the quintessential asshole bully who no one stands up to because everybody's tail is firmly between their legs about it. And what you do with bullies is you bop them on the fucking nose with a roll of newspaper. Like, that's what you do to bullies. You stand up to a bully and the bully fucks off. And the fact that no one is willing to stand up to Donald Trump is absurd. And the fact that no one is willing to say to him, listen here, fucko. Like, the way you treat people is inexcusable. The way you conduct yourself is deplorable. And the way you view our country and the people in it is disgusting. We don't live in a shithole country. We live in a very, very, very complicated country that has a lot of complex issues that cannot be boiled down to immigrant bad, white people good. It can't be boiled down to that. And if you think it can be, go watch Melania, and even then your intelligence will be insulted. I'm not even sure if the people who are Trump supporters bought this breed, brand, and style of bullshit. It seems like some of them did, but judging by the lack of money that this movie made, I don't think even the people that they thought would show up showed up.
Yeah, I guarantee there's a pretty large swath of people that showed up to watch it, and halfway through were probably like, oh, God, why did I pay for this?
And if it's meant to be inspiring for women or little girls or whomever might be watching it to become engaged or think, well, someday I could do whatever this is in this movie is not something you should be wanting. There are so many more engaging documentaries about worthwhile women subject material, like the Ruth Bader Ginsburg documentary, RBG,
Right.
a woman who actually did something. Like, Melania is a movie about a woman who happened to marry the right guy.
Yep. I'd like to see a documentary of the Queen of Jordan.
Right. Or Macron's wife, frankly. Like, it's funny because if the point of the movie was to inspire young women, what does it inspire young women to? I don't even, like, there is no point of view that this movie has that I could find to be engaging or uplifting or inspiring. Like, I don't understand what could even be perceived as inspiring about this movie. Melania does nothing, barely engages with the people in her life, seems completely detached from reality, or at least emotional ability to perceive reality. And by the end of it, all I can think is, well, she just doesn't care, and so why should I?
Well, and yeah, to what you're saying, you don't watch it and at the end of it, think to yourself, I'm going to get out there and fill in the blank. There's nothing like that.
Well, hold on now, Dustin. According to the film,
Unless I'm an immigrant.
Melania has a lot of credits to her name because the post credits of the film really were cluing us into all of Melania's accomplishments. By the way, right? Because the movie doesn't understand that we don't really care at this point because we've been beaten into submission. But they go on to talk about Keith Siegel's release. We have to listen to the Take It Down, or talking about the Take It Down Act, which is AI generated intimate imagery. Like, I'm sorry, none of these things are impressive. Not because they're not impressive things, but because you probably didn't do them. Because judging by everything else in this documentary, the level of engagement that you have with anything is effectively zero. Other people are doing it for you, and you're just slapping your name on it.
Yeah, just like classic Trump marketing.
Right. Well, that's the thing. I mean, Trump University, Trump Vodka, like Trump the movie. Like, that might, this is Trump the movie. But the thing is, and, I'm not going to lie, like, I would have rather have watched a movie like this about Donald Trump.
Yeah.
I would have rather watched a movie called Trump about Donald Trump, or Donald about Donald Trump, and watched that movie be as insane as this one. Because that would actually be the movie that would be insane. That would be the movie that would be inspiring some true, like, stop and pause moment. This movie is just like, the woman who married Donald Trump is as vapid and as stupid as he. That's my takeaway. My takeaway is like, and this has nothing to do with any gender or race or creed or color. They're terrible people. They just happen to be white people. They happen to be children of immigrants, and immigrants in this country are under attack by people like them. And I don't understand why people like that would be doing that unless it's the old pull the ladder up behind us maneuver, which is what it is. There's plenty of room in this country for everybody. How do I know that? Because drive 10 miles outside of any major city in the Midwest and you got nothing but land. And there's plenty of room for everyone in this country. I don't understand why we push people out and push people away when they're making money and paying taxes. The people that aren't paying taxes are not the immigrants, I would like to point out. People that aren't paying their fair share probably the people that are voting to get rid of the immigrants is probably why they're doing that. Like I said before, we used to live in a very ideologically soaked world where everyone was doing things, the war on Christmas and they're coming for the Christians. Now it's just, we just hate people that don't look like us and we don't even care why. We don't have to justify why. And that is so post-ideological because you don't even care anymore. You don't even you're not even attempting to make it a reasonable why. The why doesn't matter. The why has become so unimportant because there is no why. To go back to Scream, it's like Billy Loomis in Scream. What's scarier than a guy with a motive? One without one. And that's what it feels like. They have no internal locus of control as a group of people. They just do. And in just doing, they have achieved very little, if anything. Frankly, I would say nothing. They've dismantled and destroyed more than they've created.
Well, back to my stopwatches. So we talked about the donor's ball, 9 minutes, 48 seconds, talking to interior designers. Talking about, trying on dresses or talking about dress alterations, 12 minutes and 7 seconds. Seems like way more than that. But here's the big reveal. The amount of time in this movie where Melania's just walking from point A to point B or riding in a mode of transportation is 42 minutes and 10 seconds. And this is with her not saying anything. There might be a narration going on. She's not doing anything or saying anything, just walking and riding. I think there's a little bit where she sings Billie Jean, and I let the timer run through that because she barely knew the words anyway. But
it's her favorite song.
Yeah.
You know, what's your favorite Michael Jackson song, Donald? I guess 2 days ago they asked him, what's your favorite Elvis song? I like all of them. I like them all. Yep, I'm just like the Bible. You know all of them and love them all. Congratulations. It's like you're alluding to with this timer. When given the opportunity to show yourselves as anything other than human suits full of rats, all you do is show your fact that you're a human suit full of rats. There's no connective tissue with any of these people to reality, and it's strange to me because the way that these people are received by so many people in our culture is like they're someone worth idolizing and they're someone worth following and really propping up and putting on a pedestal. And in my mind, all I can think is do you actually sit for 2 seconds and look at the way they are, or you just are envious of what they have? Which I understand. I mean, I do understand that as much as you do. Look at the opulence on screen. Look at the overwhelming amount of money and power and fame and success. And look, there's Elon Musk and there's Jeff Bezos and there's JD Vance, none of whom are credited in the movie, by the way, which is the funniest part. Apparently they didn't want to be in their own movie that they all paid for together. Who'd have thunk it? I think people in our society are obviously very much engaged with what the Trumps have. And I think what they believe what the Trumps stand for means something different to most people. But I don't know if the Trumps stand for anything on the face of themselves. I think they stand for whatever makes them the most amount of money at the time. Because when given the opportunity to make a genuine documentary, they took the opportunity to just make a complete fluff piece. There's no need for it. There isn't. You could have made a real documentary here and actually engage the audience in a way that would have been humanizing for Melania Trump. If your whole purpose behind this movie is to humanize Melania Trump, you failed. You failed. It's in a lot of ways, it's like if we followed Jessica Walters' character from Arrested Development for an hour and a half. She's probably not really doing anything interesting. It might be interrupted by a small interesting thing happening, but for the most part, she's just a rich woman going about her rich woman day, but she's a rich woman who's disconnected from reality, which is to say she's a rich woman.
Well, I was going to say, do you think there's something to people that watch this or, that enjoy this?
What universe is that one? Trump universe?
But do you think there's something to what you're saying? They see the opulence on the screen and it's in their mind, is it they're powerful, successful, they should be where they're at. And this makes me happy and secure, powerful and successful and rich people are making the decisions.
I mean, I feel like there's part of that here. I mean, people voted for Donald Trump because they perceived him to be a successful businessman when the guy has not run a successful business ever, really. His businesses have gone bankrupt. His brand name is only worthwhile to certain people in certain circles, and now that has exploded beyond its original box that it was in. I think people in this country that are easily swayed and easily taken advantage of look at Donald Trump and what he has like a fishing lure that's metallic. You see the lure, but you don't see the hook.
Yeah.
And you see the lure and you see that little piece of metal twisting in the water. And these people, unfortunately, have been taken advantage of. And that's the thing. I feel sorry for these people. I don't look at them as morons. I look at the people in charge as people who know how to take advantage of people who are easily swayed by someone who has something to say that doesn't sound like what you've heard. And I feel bad because there are people in this country who have been taken advantage of by the system so much that their only course of action was to put their faith behind someone like this. And you know what? Maybe there is a universe where someone like Donald Trump did what he said he was going to do in terms of draining the swamp and fixing the system. But he got in there and he just made it worse. He just filled the swamp back up with his own cronies and increased his bottom line and has done nothing else. And it's not, again, this is not me making an opinion. Like, some of this has been my opinion, but some of this has been fact. Donald Trump and his Trump family have increased their wealth exponentially, I'm sure, since becoming president or becoming involved in politics in a substantive way. Grifters are gonna grift, and Trump has been a grifter from day one. He's a snake oil salesman. He's a con man. He's a lot of things that are really negative things that you or I would not want someone to perceive us as.
Well, I was going to say, part of politics that I learned at a very young age, junior high maybe, is that you can't use your position of power to build wealth.
You shouldn't be allowed to, but yet the people in Congress still,
true.
trade stocks. So
I don't think it was ever a law that's like been etched, engraved into concrete. It's been a gentleman's law.
Well, and again, that's where I go back to the idea of like a post-ideological society that we live in, because like you said, in an ideological society, someone gets into politics because they want to change things. They want to increase the value of the country. They want to push their ideas and beliefs and thoughts and turn ideas into laws and action. And in this world that we live in now, this is all about increasing your bottom line, and wealth increasing is not an ideological stance. That's just creating wealth. And that's the thing. 20, 30 years ago, when George Bush invaded the Middle East to stop the WMDs, in quotation, that was being done ostensibly to stop the WMDs. Now, with what we have in this in the world that we live in the political sphere of our country, we invaded Iran because why? No reason given. Not even an attempt at a reason given. In this post-ideological society, people have given up on trying to explain why they want to do things or pretending, and just do it. Because fuck it. Nobody cares anymore anyways. And that's so ungoddamn believably disappointing. Because to live in a post-ideological society is to live in a society not dictated or ruled by anything other than my own personal wants, needs, and desires being fulfilled. And as a society of people who have all made a implicit decision to live in at least somewhat observance of the rules, these kinds of people show that not only do I not have to obey the rules, I am above the rules, and the rules don't exist. And when you do that, you cause the foundation of our society to erode. You help erode the foundation of our society. And that's what this movie, in my mind, is all it is just they've gone into politics and they've eroded it, and now they've come into the film industry and they've eroded it. Like, documentary films as a genre, which I don't care what the fuck they say this movie is. It's a documentary. Shut the fuck up. This isn't a thrillomedy. This isn't a dramomedy or whatever the fuck. This is a documentary. This film, being given the level of importance it was given by Jeff Bezos and Amazon, the money it was given, the theatrical release, which is ostensibly why Melania wanted to go with Amazon, is because they were going to put it in theaters. Okay, sure, whatever. All of that exists now in a society that is not being dictated by anything other than one's personal desires and wants outwardly. And it used to be that was not the case outwardly. People used to pretend even that they were doing things for ideological reasons. Now it's just, I just want money and I'm rich and I don't care and fuck it. And in in not taking a stance or having anything to say, they've helped contribute to the erosion of documentary film as a serious art form, even 1%. It's not much, but the fact that this film went into theaters, into multiple theaters, large amounts of theaters across the country, and there are documentaries that aren't getting out there that are much more important, interesting, or timely, is disgusting. And the fact that this might be the first documentary that some people see in theaters, also disgusting. Like, there's so many amazing films that are documentary films that are about the political process or being engaged in politics or about a politician. You know, just to think of one off the top of my head, The War Room is a great example of politics in the 90s. Like, or you know, I don't know. I don't even want to mention anything else at the moment because I want to focus so much on this and how upset it makes me that this is a documentary film in the same world as Werner Herzog's film, as Alex Gibney's films, as Errol Morris's film. Like, and this is in that same now umbrella of this is a documentary. And it irritates me because as someone who loves film, spends every day thinking about film and working in the film industry, this movie being given $40 million is $39.9 million more than it needed, and it doesn't justify the cost at all. Unless you're just giving someone money to pay them, which is what they did.
So do you think this time next year, when they are doing the Oscars, how many awards do you think Melania is going to be up for?
Over, under, all of them. Best Actress in a Film, Melania, nominated 5 times.
Best Supporting Actor, Donald Trump.
Yeah, Baron Trump. Best Supporting Actor, J.D. Vance.
Yeah.
Yeah, talk about really revealing how much Donald and Melania hate each other, huh? The fact that she did not watch him win the election is the funniest fucking thing possible. I think I said it when we were watching the movie. The funniest thing about this movie is the world's worst man, even the world's worst man is vexed by his nag of a wife. Yuck, yuck, yuck. Like, just like, even the world's most terrible man is vexed by his awful wife. Like, of course.
Well, with her saying that she didn't watch it, I couldn't help but wonder, why is this in the film? It's such a terrible look.
That's right. Like, the film is made with no sense of irony whatsoever. No irony whatsoever.
The way she talks to him in that phone conversation is like he's a 5-year-old that got a participation award at a science fair. Like, yes, good job. You did good. Yes, I'll look at it when I get home.
It wasn't a participation award. It was a Nobel Peace Prize, and it wasn't a science fair. It was FIFA.
Yeah.
Mommy, look, I got an award. Great. They gave one to everyone. Congratulations.
Yeah, she's like, good job being elected president. I have to go yell at somebody about the collar on my dress.
Right. The amount of privilege that these motherfuckers have is just...
That was another through line of the film.
Look at the privilege. Look at the opulence. Wow. Look at me barfing in my seat.
I loved when, during one of the dress fittings, she's like, I don't like this. Let's cut it. And they're like, yeah. It's just her, yes. People that are around her, yes, let's cut it. And then the people that actually do the altering are looking at each other like, oh, what? Like, and one of them even says, you can't cut that.
Well, this is the same group of people that thought you could add to fabric after you cut it.
Yeah.
Melania Trump literally in the film is like, put the fabric back, and it's like, that's not how that works.
I would just say, okay, there I
did anything in your life other than sit around.
But there's some looks that some of those alteration people were giving.
One another and her.
Yeah. Oh, that was fun. If there was, I have my answer. There's one character in this film. Who are you rooting for?
The film to be over.
No, you got to pick a character.
Oh, if I were to pick someone from the film,
who are you rooting for?
I don't know. That's the thing. Like, I couldn't tell you because there's not really anybody.
I'll tell you mine. Hervé
Pierre. Don't root too hard for Hervé. Hervé got paid $122,000 as he was leaving the White House the first time.
Oh, really?
For strategic consulting.
He just seems like a nice guy.
Well, when the Trump family is paying you 6 figures fucking money for making their dresses, I'm sure you'd think they were nice people too.
Oh, true. But he's an immigrant that made it.
Part of the upper crust cognoscenti of immigrants who hate other immigrants who haven't made it yet.
I don't know if he hates other immigrants.
Right, sorry, allegedly. Self-loathing comes in many forms. You know, Dustin, we've talked a lot about a lot of movies together. We were reminiscing the other evening about Arachnophobia, a film about spiders, a bunch of spiders, which this movie has in common with Arachnophobia, a movie about a bunch of fucking spiders. Is this the worst thing that we've ever watched together?
Maybe. I mean, honestly, I joke about like the hairbait thing, but there's really nothing that great about this film. I mean,
you can't even hate watch it. You can't. It's so boring. It's hard to hate watch.
It has a couple good moments, like I said, with the immigration stories, but that doesn't set it apart from other movies. It's almost sad that their stories are buried in this.
Well, they had to pad out the 40 minutes of her walking around somehow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is probably the worst one we've done together.
It's the worst movie I've ever seen in terms of the production value behind it.
Yeah, that ratio is way off.
Movie cost $40 million. Melania made $30. The film made $16. Wow, you laundered $40 million the hard way.
Yeah, no kidding.
There's got to be a better way to do it, like some sort of like island in the Maldives or something, like some easier way to do it than like this. Like, maybe selling crypto, I don't know, or or selling things to the Middle East. Like, there's plenty of ways to make money. Not like they haven't already done those things. So I guess this is just another scheme for scheming, money-making fucks to do.
They've saturated every other way to do it, so why not try this?
Grifter's gonna grift. I mean, I'm waiting for Donald and Melania to write a children's book.
Well, it's probably going to happen.
Yeah.
Do you think there's going to be a sequel?
Oh, God. Melania 2?
Yep.
I'd like for them to get to Melania 9 just so it could finally lean into the alt-right Germanness of it all. Melania Nein 9.
I was thinking it'd be Melania again.
Melania 2, here we grow again. I mean, she does kind of look like the female gremlin from that second movie.
Oh, man, yeah.
That one that goes after Robert Picardo. She does kind of look like the female gremlin. Can I just say, and like I know this is going to strike some people the wrong way, but like, what a just distasteful person Melania is, just like through and through. Like,
my other question, do you think she's going to show up now that this has happened, be a cameo in certain projects within Amazon or within
is this like a Stan Lee thing?
Yeah.
No. Melania's showing up delivering a letter to somebody, or Melania as a bus driver, or Melania as the Watcher, the Watcher in Marvel. Yeah. I mean, that would be funny. All of a sudden, in Marvelous Miss Maisel, Melania just shows up. In fucking Shrinking, the Jason Segel show, she just shows up. Like, okay.
They do another Home Alone movie, and the kid's in a hotel, and she's the one pointing him to the bathroom.
Go over there, small American boy. I don't know if my Melania is on point or not, but it's definitely Eastern European disinterested, which I feel like are ways to describe Melania.
That's 90% of it.
Right? I don't really care as long as it makes me money. Like, our country is in crisis. Our country is in a place that I think a lot of people my age and your age are disappointed in. And I think rightfully so. And the noise has not gotten quieter. It's only gotten louder. And this is a megaphone in a lot of ways. Like, they've taken over everything. And movies are no different. Mm-hmm. It's unfortunate, but the film industry knows bullshit when it sees it. Nobody went and saw this movie. The people that they wanted to come out for this movie didn't even come and see it. It's not like there was a massive red wave and they made all this money on the backs of their supporters. Nobody went and saw this shit.
They even bought out theaters just to sell tickets.
Well, WCW was doing that in the 90s. So, failing organizations try to make things look better. I mean, it's no surprise that during this movie, we have a moment where Donald Trump is asking about the size of the groups. Like, these people are all about appearances. Yeah. That's all they're about. There's no substance. There's no value. There's no anything. They are like what happens when you film advertising for food, but then you expect to be able to eat the food as well. Expectation and reality are significant they're just on opposite ends of the room. Like, this movie looks well made, but that's not impressive. And there's no substance. It's like cheese being sprinkled on cardboard and calling it pizza. Like, what? There's no value here. And it's unfortunate. I know that, Michelle Obama's documentary Becoming went up, like the percentage of people watching that went up like 13,000% or something. Like, there are good things that come out of this. People being engaged in the opposite direction. So there is some positive that can come out of this. But I think
People need a
overall,
palate cleanser.
I think overall, a film like this does not move the needle in any substantive way. And I don't think that the people who made it were really trying to anyways. So that brings me to one of my last questions here, because I really want to know your thoughts on Brett fucking Ratner. What the hell, man? Look, I know the guy's had his problems because he's one of those sex pest dudes, allegedly. But why you would take on this other than to become a shitheel for the president and his lackey fucks, is beyond me. I mean, I guess he is also an agent of the Israeli state because he's buddies with Netanyahu. So that's fun as well. So boy, you just why don't we just go and just ingratiate ourselves with everybody awful while we're at it? Was he out on Epstein Island? He probably was. Oh yeah, he was.
Yeah, there's photo evidence of it. I was to say, my brain goes to, the bulletin board with his picture with red string drawn to different things, Israel, Epstein, Trump, and how is it all connected? That's kind of where my brain goes. Like, why was he the one tasked with this? There's a reason,
right.
Right. There is a reason.
Yeah. I was obviously being very facetious here. The reason is the reasons are many. We are legion. The reasons are legion. Like, he was on Epstein Island. He's part of the Me Too movement, as in he was a guy accused of rape. He is also kind of a piece of shit. He's also really big fans of and friends with Israel. So you've just, Israel, who we know helped start this Iranian war, if not are the sole proprietors of why this country's in Iranian war that we're currently involved in. It wouldn't surprise me that this is the guy that they hired. It's just sad because Brett Ratner has made some movies that aren't terrible.
Right. Now what's the thought process though there? Is it, let's throw this guy a bone, or he's in the ilk, or what?
That's what I think. I think it's the this guy is part of the Epstein, engagement, and so his involvement in this movie is just one more tacit admittance that you guys fucked kids on Epstein Island. Like, if anybody else had directed this, I would have been like, okay, I don't know why you're directing this, but for me, it's like, well, Brett Ratner directed it, so he can try to clear his name from the Epstein stuff, and it's like, maybe don't direct a movie about Donald Trump's wife then. Like, wasn't it Epstein who introduced Donald Trump and his wife?
Yeah.
According to Mark Wolf in his book, like,
yep.
I'm sorry, like, please explain to me why are we hiring people who are going to make people who do any amount of research that you are involved in the rape of children? Why didn't they just hire fucking Bryan Singer while they're at it? Like, for real. Like, Ratner directed the third Bryan Singer X-Men movie because Bryan Singer left. Why didn't they have... This could have been you know what this should have been? There should have been a film co-directed by Bryan Singer and Brett Ratner and narrated by Kevin Spacey.
Was it like produced by Harvey Weinstein or anything?
No, not shockingly, it wasn't somehow. That would have been the only way to really lean into this more than they did, would to have Bryan Singer and Kevin Spacey involved, the other two most well-known men in the industry in terms of sexual assault allegation.
Yeah, you see Kevin Spacey at like the head table at the ball.
Mm-hmm. I mean, having to see Elon Musk and Bezos is bad enough. It's like, we get it. You guys are all incestuous billionaire fucks. We get it. I understand. Like, the film industry itself is very incestuous. As someone who now works as the chief development officer for a physical distribution company, our network of people is insanely incestuous. There are people weaving in and out of our things all over the place. So I get it. Like, politics are the same way. And so is apparently the world of sexual assaulting children. So great. All the terrible people congregate together. Who'd have thunk? I hope that we don't get more movies like this that are taken as seriously as this one, because this movie deserves to be relegated to the trash bin of film history, just like Dinesh D'Souza's film. They're not serious films, not being made by serious people, and the fact that this is being attempted to be portrayed that way, I think, speaks volumes of the lack of self-awareness of everyone involved in the making of. And I think it also just speaks to the privilege of the people who benefited financially from this movie that they thought they were important enough to be the subject of a $40 million documentary.
I'm going to make a prediction. This is just the first installment in the Trump cinematic universe.
TCU.
Yep. And we're going to see other movies. Eric.
Don Jr.
Eric. John Jr. Who's the lesser known sister? Tiffany or something?
Tiffany Trump.
Yeah. Ivanka.
Well, supposedly, a docuseries is being made off of this film.
See? TCU. Trump cinematic.
I will say that if that docuseries comes out, I think we have unfortunately signed ourselves up to cover it because I don't think many people have covered this film. And I don't like that we did because we've given this film an hour and a half more than it deserved and we've given it more credibility than it needed. But at the same time, I think if people in our industry are ignoring it, you're missing the point. You can't, like, this is unignorable at this point. So stop pretending. Like, you know, this is not a position I like being in as a film reviewer or as a film critique as in critic.
Got to do the good and the bad.
Yeah.
Well, you said it was 104 minutes. 64 of it was what I talked about earlier with the walking and the dresses and the interior designers. And then I'll even be a little more conservative and say 20 minutes of it was about immigrants, like immigrants sharing their stories and how they've come to be in the positions they're in, or her mom, which so that's 84 minutes. So out of 104 minutes, that's 20 minutes left of B-roll, which some of that B-roll is mixed in with what we've already talked about, and just playing of clips from what has happened in history, the inauguration, things like that. That's really all it is.
Yeah, I would hope that time is unkind to this film. I would hope that we as a society will continue to be unkind and unwavering in our rejection long-term of these kinds of beliefs and these kinds of people's kind of involvement in the arts. And I'm not saying if you have a viewpoint I don't agree with, you can't be involved in the arts. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying if you're going to be involved in the arts, do it for the right reason. Because being involved in the arts to be financially wealthy because you can game the system is about as sad of a sack of shit thing to do as humanly possible. And yet here we are, because that's what you've done. There are people in this industry that work a hell of a lot harder and do a hell of a lot for...
Get paid a hell of a lot less.
And do it for a hell of a lot less than $28 million to walk around and be annoyed, seemingly, by a film crew. I wish this movie had something to say. I wish this movie had a viewpoint or an idea or a notion or anything other than swearing fealty and sycophancy to a group of people who are so reprehensible and deplorable that no amount of film washing their image is going to change how absolutely terrible of human beings they are. And this film is just one more notch in a very long belt of notches with notches in it of terrible things about these people that they don't seemingly have the self-awareness to understand how terrible it really is and how terrible it truly is. And to have a woman who's an immigrant with immigrants surrounding her, working for her, be married to the most infamous immigrant hater of the last 20, 30 years is pretty ironic. And the optics just... go right over your head. So this movie deserves to be taken out into the woodshed of history and beaten to death slowly. And then buried in a very shallow grave for other filmmakers to come by and look at and go, this is what happens when you make bullshit like this, huh? People reject you and your career entirely. Like, I hope Brett Ratner's ability to direct films is significantly diminished moving forward, because the person whose career should take a real hit is his, because he should have known better. Even if he's involved in Epstein Island and everything else, he should have known better, because bro, this is clown shit. Even for you, it's clown shit. I would rather have directed Master of Disguise. So on that uplifting note, if you want to listen to me and my, clearly left-leaning opinions on films, you can go on over to the Kulturecast, which is my podcast, which is part of the Weirding Way Media Network family, which is a family of podcast creators and content creators all committed to the same goal, making great content for you to listen to. If you want to listen to what I do outside of that, patreon.com/Kulturecast is where you can check out my Patreon. $5 a month gets you bonus episodes. $10 a month gets you access to the James Bond podcast, where Richard Haddam and Mike White and I talk about James Bond once a month. And we try to have an interesting discussion about a topic that a lot of people are kind of checked out about. Wonder why Jeff does. Dustin, thank you so much for joining me. This was fun, and it was also your idea. So ultimately, I think the person to blame for this is you.
You're welcome, and I'm sorry.
And as always, we'll catch you on the next episode.